Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus. You've got a responsibility to go back to Lodabar. Your work's not done just because you made it to the palace. Bless the name of the Lord. But you've got a responsibility to help somebody else make it across. Thank you, Jesus. Don't pull up the ladder because you climbed to the top. Don't blow up the bridge because you made your way across. Thank you, Jesus. But reach your hand back down the ladder and pull somebody else up out of Lodabar. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus. That's the name of the Lord. Somebody got to tell themselves, it's all right if you got it now, just hold it for me. I'll be there to get it after a while. Oh, bless the name of the Lord. Thank you, Jesus. You got to make up in your mind that what God has for me, it is for me. I might not have it right now. I may not get it next week. You might try to stop me from getting it. But if God said it's mine, I want you to know after a while, I'm going to get what belongs to me. Sometimes God got to strip what you got so you don't depend on yourself. He got to take away from you so you understand how to depend on else. Come on in here. 90.7 WTCC. Good morning. Welcome to the Spoken Word. I'm your host, Bishop Talbert Swan II. And as usual, we'll be telling it like it is through cultural idioms and nuances that shape the order, ethos, and chaos of the African-American experience. Words have their own vitality. They shape their own consciousness, create their own context for interpreting social and spiritual reality. The spoken word contains the power to reshape the landscape of society. 3 minutes past the hour of 9 a.m. I want to thank Mr. Kenneth Barnett for bringing us up into the 9 o'clock hour. I want to thank our remote director, Mr. Jim Malakias, for bringing us onto the air so we can be with you for yet another edition of the Spoken Word radio broadcast. Do me a favor, tell a friend, tell somebody the Bishop is on the air right now. And you can catch me on all of my social media outlets, Facebook, YouTube, the Gram, Twitter, and Periscope. all of that. So if they want to chime in, all kinds of ways to connect with us on this morning. Now, listen, a lot of stuff happened over the past few days. The George Floyd trial gets started today. Not only does his trial get started today, last week, Republicans in Georgia, yeah, they passed some Jim Crow legislation that basically suppresses people's votes, particularly black people. I don't know if y'all think that's a problem. I do. I think it's a problem. So here we are, once again, dealing with white backlash in the face of black progress. Every time there's black progress, there's going to be white backlash. So black folk got together. Black folk made sure that Trump got put out of office. They gave 2 Senate seats in Georgia, including electing a black man. And so this is the white backlash. We're going to make sure you N-words don't get the vote. All right. So it's crazy. You can't bring people water in line. The people that are waiting in the sweltering Georgia sun to vote, you can't give them water. Like, how the hamburger does that provide election security or election integrity? It's Jim Crow. That's what it is. That's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about the return to Jim Crow. All right. 413-337-1867. 413-337-1867. Good morning, Tyrell. Rep your city, rep your town. Let me know where you're coming in from. All right. I want to know exactly what part of the nation or the world you are in this morning for certain. So do that for me in the comment section, no matter where you are on social media. Once again, 413-337-1867. Good morning, Michael Moore. 9:45, our little chat with the First Lady is coming up. So tell somebody we're on the air right now. It's getting ready to get live in here. A lot of stuff we need to talk about. So y'all stay right with us, okay? Don't you go nowhere. I see you, Cousin Vita, out there. All my peeps. Love all of y'all and good to be with y'all again. Here's a little bit of spoken word, Rhonda Swan. I like what I see. Don't you go nowhere. We're going to be right back.
I look in the mirror and I like what I see. A strong, beautiful black woman staring back at me. One who's seen a lot of pain and had her share of sorrow, but who never gave up hope for a brighter tomorrow. I've been lied to, cheated on, stolen from and hit, but it just made me stronger and I refuse to quit. That's right. And though I've been tempted, I refuse to stoop to their level. Don't go down. I rose above that nonsense and made a liar of the devil. All right now. The devil who said I wasn't good enough, cute enough, or worthy of love, I kicked his butt with divine power from above. Power that says I can do all things through Christ, which strengthens me and brought me out of darkness so that I could see that I'm smart, I'm beautiful, I'm a child of the King. Abundant love for me, he came to bring. Oh yes, when I look in the mirror, I love what I see. That strong, beautiful black woman, that woman is me. others that passed, but more particularly one because it affected me drastically. I remember my sister gave me the call and I was in awe. Matter of fact, it felt the farthest from reality. She seen somebody post RIP with his name and I said I doubt it's the same friend I had since the 7th grade. She said I'ma call his sister and double check and call me back. Said he hanged himself in his room and had been there for days. Initially it didn't hit me, then it clicked and I remembered that I hadn't seen or heard from the homie all week. Wish she had told me what had him feeling low. A week. I guess everybody got demons we don't even speak of. Cause I was with him exactly a week before the call. The 20, he couldn't even purchase alcohol. My best friend for like 6 or 7 years. I'm not ashamed to say I shedded plenty tears, but it was hard. He was somebody I had plenty memories with. The first person I ever burned any trees with. The worst feeling is knowing that you will leave us and all this grievance without a reason. One of the first people to ever believe in me. When it came down to it, you knew you could call me if you needed me. That information I wouldn't ever imagine. It's sad thinking about it. I ain't happy that it happened, but maybe there was plenty times when I thought that it would drive me crazy. But looking back on it now, I see all the time that it gave me. I learned more about why I am who I am on the daily. I know it may sound crazy, but I'm glad that it made me. Yeah, was born the son of a pastor. He was who I was named after. Matter of fact, I even got some of his characteristics. Both of us got messages for the people. I just do my rhythm on beat. He do his on the pulpit with scriptures. Well connected, respected in the community. Ever since I was little, I felt like there was some pressure on me. It started off with little stuff like when my folk brought us to church and then they forced us to get up and say a testimony. Getting older, had to watch how I acted in public, cause people wouldn't hesitate to put that in discussion. Chatting like, isn't that the pastor's kid? I'm like, yeah, that's me. But please don't expect me to be exactly like my daddy. Don't discredit my family for how I am. I'm not a little kid no more, I'm now a man. And I ain't pointing fingers, I'm not trying to do no blaming at all. When it comes to how I came up, I wouldn't change it at all, because it made me. There was plenty times when I thought that it would drive me crazy. But looking back on it now, I see all the drive that it gave me. I learned more about why I am who I am on the daily. I know it may sound crazy, but I'm glad that it made me. Yeah, glad that it made me. Yeah, glad that it made me. Looking back on it now, I see all the drive that it gave me. So glad that it made me. Yeah, it made me. Yeah, it made me.
90.7 WTCC. Good morning. Welcome to the spoken word. Bishop Swan inside your radio, on your screen, wherever. It's good to be with you. Love you, cousin Vita. I see you. Teresa Armstrong. Yes. Listen, Milwaukee's in the house. Chicago's in the house. New York is in the house. Atlanta's in the house. The field is definitely in the house. Good morning, Sister Stephanie Johnson. My man, Deacon George Lovejoy. Brother Christopher, I see you over there on YouTube holding it down on the tube. Jesse, Reverend Pastor, Preacher Man Burgess. Good morning, sir. Do me a favor, y'all. Share. Hit that like, hit that subscribe, hit that share button. Tell somebody the Bishop is on the air. 413-337-1867 is the number here. So we can get this conversation popping. Listen, I just don't know. I don't know, well, I do know, but I don't know which era of the which era of Jim Crow they trying to take us back to? I mean, I know they're trying to take us back, because that's all they meant for the last 4 years when they were talking about make America great again and all that stuff. That's all they was talking about, taking us back to an era in the history of America where black folks were subjugated. They had to hold their head down. They didn't call us boy and girl, even if we were full grown. Treat us any kind of way they felt like treating us. We couldn't vote. We couldn't do this. We had to live in fear of life. That's where they want to take us back to. And if that wasn't clear to you over the last 4 years, after what they did in Georgia, it ought to be crystal clear to you right now. Okay, it ought to be crystal clear. There should be no question in your mind where they want to take us back to. So I posed the question, and I said, what era of Jim Crow, white supremacist America, are they trying to take us back to? The 1950s? The end of Reconstruction in 1876, or even before that? And quite honestly, I asked the question, or do y'all just want to put black folk back in chains and call it a day? Because it seems to me that that's what a lot of y'all want to do. We're talking about taking your country back. First of all, how are you going to take back something you stole in the first place? The cognitive dissonance of white folks is astounding to me. I mean, it's crazy to me because it's like, really, I mean, you steal something, and then when you feel like you're losing the grip of what you stole, you start talking about you want to take your country back. Well, tell that to the Cherokee. Tell that to the Navajo. Tell that to our Native American brothers and sisters, the indigenous people, including black people who were here when you pale skins got here. Tell that to them, in terms of taking something back. Peace, Brother Stokes. I need to holler at you. I saw what happened, and I ain't mad at you in the least bit. Those of you from the field, y'all might know what I'm talking about. Juanita Beeman, I see you. So you can't take back what you stole in the first place. By way of just a little bit of history. It started in 1870 after the Civil War. Okay, when the 15th Amendment became law. And what happened with the 15th Amendment, I'm glad you asked, because you need to know if you don't know. It gave black people the right to vote. And I know that for most of us, our historical time clock goes back to 1965 with the passing of the Voting Rights Act in terms of black folks getting the right to vote. But you got to go back 100 years before that, to right after the Civil War. It was actually 1870. Okay, it was the 15th Amendment that gave black people the right to vote. Right. It later took the 1965 Voting Rights Act to dismantle the Jim Crow laws that they put in place. So they gave black folk the right to vote. Then they said, oh, hold up. We can't let them have a voice in this American democracy. So immediately across the South, they instituted Jim Crow. It was there were laws, racist laws, that would make it impossible for black people to vote. So they made you take literacy tests, even though they knew they weren't allowing for the education of black people. Literacy tests for black people who for generations they forbade to even read. they instituted poll taxes that black folks could not afford to pay, that restricted them access to the voter rolls. All right. They would put marbles, jelly beans in a jar, and if you couldn't guess the exact number, you couldn't vote. All kinds of foolish, restrictive, racist practices to keep black folk from the polls. Then, of course, came the Ku Klux Klan and the intimidation tax to downright murder to keep black people from voting. People lost their lives for 100 years trying to exercise a right to vote. Fast forward to modern times, fast forward to the 2020 presidential election, where black folk were under assault to have their voting rights restricted or impeded. Well, let's back up. Before we get to 2020 election, let's go back to 2012. In 2012, there were over 30 Republican attorney generals, state attorney generals across the nation who came together and filed a lawsuit challenging the constitutionality of the Voting Rights Act of 1965. That case went all the way to the Supreme Court. Now, to understand that, and I know this is quick and dirty, you're going to have to look it up yourself, but this is just a quick and dirty version of it. In the Voting Rights Act, in what was known as Section 4, there was a formula that was used to determine what states, what districts, what cities and towns, municipalities historically suppressed the rights of black people to vote. And those that fit that formula were on a list that needed pre-clearance from the federal government before they could pass any laws that would further restrict or affect the rights of black people to vote. So, for instance, states like Georgia were on that list. States like Texas were on that list. North Carolina, South Carolina, various states, and even voting precincts and districts, even some in the North. All right. There were some particular districts in New York and other places that were on the list, the pre-clearance list, which meant before they passed any rules, laws, regulations, closed down polling locations, instituted voter ID laws, any of that, they had to get pre-clearance. And if they did it, the Department of Justice could come in and nullify what they did. That was Section 5, the enforcement of Section 4. What happened when those Republican attorney generals filed that suit challenging the constitutionality of the Voting Rights Act, it went all the way to the Supreme Court. And as opposed to just getting rid of the Voting Rights Act, because the optics would have been bad. The optics would have been bad, even for a conservative-leaning Supreme Court, to get rid of signature legislation that people like Martin Luther King Jr. and others gave their life to bring into existence. That would have been bad optics. So instead of getting rid of the Voting Rights Act altogether, they said Section 4, the section that delineated the formula by which these entities needed to get preclearance, was unconstitutional. So they got rid of Section 4. So without Section 4, Georgia, all those other cities, towns, states, municipalities, districts, etc., no longer needed preclearance to pass laws, regulations, rules to shut down polling locations, restrict early voting, institute voter ID laws, et cetera, no longer needed pre-clearance, which meant now the DOJ can't use Section 5, the enforcement, because there are no municipalities on the pre-clearance list anymore. So basically, they nullified the Voting Rights Act. It's still on the books, but it's unenforceable. That's what they did. The Supreme Court made that ruling in 2013. So that led up to 2020. And the 2020 presidential election, they kept the assault on our voting rights, kept trying to restrict and impede our voting rights. After the election, and after a candidate had been chosen by the majority of the American citizens, after he won by 7 million votes, segments of the radical conservative party structured an assault on black voters. Don't get it twisted. It never had anything to do with voter integrity, election security, because the Republicans that were put in place to monitor the election, they said it was the most secure election in history. The attorney general, the Republican attorney general who bent over backward to kiss Trump's behind, he said there was no evidence of voter fraud. Okay? The attorney general in Georgia, where they just passed this Jim Crow legislation, he said there was no voter fraud in Georgia. That all of this malarkey about voter fraud, et cetera, was just false. It was fake. It was fictitious. It made no sense. It had no evidence to back it up. That's what Republicans said. Okay, so they had a war within their own party because the experts in their own party admitted that this is just a ruse by Trump and his ilk, who are whining because he lost the election. So they structured an assault on black voters in order to overturn legally cast votes. They went after black give Wisconsin to the other dude. They went after voters in Atlanta because Atlanta is a predominantly black city. And you N-words had the nerve to give Georgia, to flip Georgia from red to blue and give the other dude the election. They went after black voters in Philadelphia, a predominantly black city, because they gave Pennsylvania to the other dude. They flipped Pennsylvania from red to blue. And they went after black voters in Detroit, a blackety black city. Okay? Because you N-words had the nerve to flip Michigan from red to blue and take the election away from the son of a Klansman that was in the White House. Excuse me. And so they wanted to overturn these legally cast votes. And listen to what I'm telling you. They were particularly going after the black votes because there were times where they said, you know what? The electors in Michigan said, we'll certify the Michigan votes all but Wayne County. So they were willing to certify all of the predominantly white counties, but not the county where Detroit is, that blackety city, that gave Michigan to the other guy. So they were assaulting black votes. Just keep it a buck. Just keep it 100. That's what they were doing. The radicals had targeted our communities in an attempted coup toward voter disenfranchisement. Okay, in Wisconsin, in heavily black counties, Republican observers actively objected to every ballot tabulators pulled to recount, which is nothing but a Jim Crow tactic. It's been 150 years since the 15th Amendment passed. But now in 2021, I don't want to say new Jim Crow because it's the same old Jim Crow. A new generation that's practicing old Jim Crow. The Jim Crow practices and techniques to disenfranchise black voting has now energized a new generation of obstructionists. And don't get it twisted. In the next 3 years, I don't even want to say 3 years. I was going to say the next 3 years to the 2024 election, but in the next year to the 2022 midterm election, this new generation is going to research, develop, and mobilize all kinds of ways to bring back Jim Crow voter obstruction tactics. They're already doing it. They are already doing it. And it's 2021. Don't tell me how much progress America has made when in 2021, I've got to deal with the same Jim Crow foolishness that my grandmama and them had to deal with. My granddaddy, George Washington Swan, was born in 1885 in Mississippi. My grandmother was born in 1902 in Mississippi. They had to deal with black folks being lynched and Jim Crow tactics. Here we are in 2021. We've got to deal with black folk being lynched and Jim Crow tactics. The more things change, the more they stay the same. So that's why I asked the question, what's the destination? Is it the 1950s? Is it the end of Reconstruction in 1876? Is it before that? Do you want to take us all the way back to 1619? Where you want to take us? Because when you say make America great again, what era was America great? Where you want to bring us back to? And in that sense, these racists and their allies and their followers are time breakers, not content with harmless nostalgia and lies about the past. Their goal is to radically remake society in their grotesque vision where white, right-wing, so-called Christians rule America unopposed and for all time. That's the ultimate utopia for them. And it's a dystopia for everybody else. But that's where they want to take us back to. That's the America that they want. Philosopher Jason Stanley described America on the precipice of such a horrible moment. And he said, I find it chilling, this odd moment of calm where Democrats are in power and state after state is introducing bills that, if passed, will ensure permanent minority party rule and the end of U.S. democracy. That's what's unfolding in history right now. Because they can't win a war of ideas. Their policies are unpopular. They're racist. They can't win on ideas. They can't sell their ideas and get you to vote for them. So the response is to keep you from voting. You see the strategy? I know y'all not gonna vote for us. And we're not gonna pretend that we like y'all. We're not gonna pretend in any way, shape, or form that we give a hamburger about freedom, justice, equality, the rights of black and brown people. So instead of trying to sell you a message that resonates with you, because the only thing they got, homosexuality and abortion, trying to appeal to conservative black Christians. That's all they got. That's all they got. So-called right to life issues, and they really are not pro-life. That's a whole nother show. So they can't win the war of ideas. So their response is, since I can't get you to vote for me, I'm just going to stop you from voting altogether. That's their strategy. That's what they want to do. Zachary Roth of the Brennan Center for Justice describes it as a radicalized legislative anti-democracy. Okay. And it's on us, my sisters and brothers, in this wave of legislation in states across the nation that's aimed at making voting harder. You know, we've got to mobilize. They have tallied over 250 bills. I want y'all to listen to this number. This is what the Brennan Center has tallied. 250 bills in 43 states that could restrict access to the ballot. 250 bills in 43 states that restrict access to the ballot. It's insane. That's what's happening in these yet to be United States of America. Okay? Let's get some calls in. Good morning, caller. Caller, you're on the air. All right, my caller has left me. 413-337-1867. How come you don't call me anymore? That's a Prince song, in case y'all didn't know that. Because I know y'all thought Alicia Keys came up with that one. That ain't no Alicia Keys song, okay? That's a Prince song. She remade it. Okay. But this is what's happening in these yet to be United States of America. 250 bills. 250 bills in 43 states that's going to restrict our right to vote. That's how crazy things are right now in America. Good morning, caller.
Yes, good morning. I guess you know that I have to latch in on you this morning because I don't understand anybody that's in this whole country right now can't see or don't want to see what's actually going on with these flop heads out here. Now, you know, I'm calling names, but ever since, you know, Barack Obama got elected, they were trying to dig themselves out of a hole to where they can breathe a bit. And now when you had this real goat head that was supposed to the last president of the last 4 years, gave these guys air that they could breathe a little bit. So now, right now, where we are, you're talking about Jim Crow. They want to go back past that, and well, you can see that right out here now they want to have open wings on, just walking up and shooting black people in the street and leaving them like a little puppy dog, you know? So where we are right now, people need to wake up. And all these Republicans that think they're gaining something, you're gaining nothing. All we're doing is losing the democratic system in this country. And people better wake up, because to me, I don't know if there's a lot of people around that think and feel like I do, but really, you don't want to come in my face with that kind of stuff or taking me back somewhere where I've never been. My parents were, my great-grandparents were, but right now I see everything that's going on, and if people around us don't see what's going on, you're going to take something that you've never earned anyway, and now you want to make it seem like, okay, I'm taking something away from you that you never earned and handed to you and didn't know how to use it. So I just wanted to weigh in on that, because I'm really venting real hard here. So just keep up the good work, sir, and I appreciate you.
All right. Thank you for your call. 413-337-1867. If you want to chime in on the conversation, love to have you. The phone lines are open. But understand that the 250 bills in 43 states is just the tip of the iceberg, brothers and sisters. Good morning, caller.
Good morning.
You're on the air. You're on the air.
Hello, sir. I'm calling as a white individual who wants to be able to help and is witness.
We're listening.
Just want to know how I can be supportive.
How you can be supportive? You can challenge white supremacy amongst your people. What happens a lot of times, people see racism and white supremacy, anti-black bigotry as the burden of black people and their problem to solve. It's actually not our problem to solve. It's a problem that affects us in very negative ways. But the reality is, it's a problem with the psyche of white people. And it has to be challenged, not just from without. It has to be challenged from within. The best thing white folks can do is to challenge their own people, and if that's at the Thanksgiving table, when your relatives are making racist comments or giving racist jokes, or if they're expressing racist ideologies, is to check it, correct it, challenge them, and don't be comfortable in it. Because a lot of times what happens is when white folks get in white spaces with their own people in their comfort zone, they rarely challenge racist ideologies. And that's a place where you all can be extremely helpful.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you doing what you're doing and to be able to continue to listen and learn.
All right. Thank you for your call.
And I'll be sure to speak up.
All right. Appreciate you. 413-337-1867. Once again, the latest assault on voting should not be seen in isolation. Some of these same folks, these same elected officials that are sponsoring these racist Jim Crow measures are taking steps to suppress any form of democracy that threatens their power. They want to remain in power. That's the bottom line. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, Bishop.
Yes, sir.
I just wanted to say I wish I was taking notes when you were dropping all that science, because that was serious science you were dropping. It was very, 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 very helpful, knowledgeable, and very relevant and significant. Because sometimes I take notes, but I was kind of preoccupied, but I was listening, and I thank you for that, because that was some deep stuff. I don't think your listeners realize how deep that was, but it was. And I just wanted to say, the shooter in Boulder, Colorado, I noticed that no one put a knee in his neck.
And the argument they were making, as there were a whole lot of us who immediately chimed in and said, here you got another white man doing a shooting and he's taken alive. And then when his name came out as Ahmad Alyssa, and they said he was from Syria. White folks started jumping up and down, shouting, clapping their hands. See, y'all said it was a white man. It's not a white man. It's not a white. Look at him. He got the white treatment. They looked at him. His skin color is white. And here's the deal. That's like saying because somebody's from Syria, they can't be white. Like there's only white people in America. There are Africans that are white. White people have no concept of this racial construct that they made up. That nationality doesn't negate your whiteness. Neither does religion. They feel like, oh, well, he's a Muslim. He can't be white. There are white Muslims as well. And then what was crazy is when they came out with the booking documents, okay, with the arrest warrant, and I put a copy of it on my Twitter page. The arrest warrant says sex/race, male/white. so yeah, he was a white dude.
And one thing I wanted to ask you, Bishop, I caught the tail end of it. The lady in Georgia who was arrested, one question I wanted to ask you, what was she arrested for? And I just wanted to make a comment. You mean to tell me all these people at the Capitol were able to go home, arrested? Now was arrested for some nonsense?
Now check my social media. I did a side-by-side comparison showing police standing at the door, letting the white terrorists walk in to the U.S. Capitol, and Park Cannon, who is a black woman state legislator. She works in the Georgia Capitol. She had a right to be there. She got arrested for knocking on the governor's door because she wanted the public to be able to witness him sign that Jim Crow legislation into law. She got arrested for knocking on the door and was charged with 2 felonies. 2 felonies. And you have white folks who broke into the Capitol who have yet to be charged. Matter of fact, the folks who murdered Officer Brian Sicknick have yet to be charged. No one has been charged with his murder to date. That happened on January 6th. But you're arresting a black legislator for knocking on the governor's door.
Amazing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because I thank you for that because I didn't know what she was charged with, and that's pretty pathetic.
Yeah.
So you have a blessed day. Thank you for that knowledge.
You too.
Needed to hear that.
All right. Take care. 413-337-1867. They're going to suppress any form of democracy that threatens them. They're afraid that the more say that voters have in any form, the worse their side is going to fare. And it's hard to ignore the explosion of this legislative anti-democracy. Okay? And it's coming from these folks that helped to stoke that January 6th insurrection that the caller was just talking about. It's coming from the same lawmakers who attended that January 6th so-called Stop the Steal rally that led to the insurrection. And they continue to serve in the legislature. They're traitors. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Hey, good morning, Bishop. How you doing this morning?
I'm good. You?
I'm doing well, thank you, sir. I just wanted to chime in a little bit.
Yes, sir.
On what you're saying, and it's very hard for me actually to remain calm.
It's difficult.
I mean, even talking about it now, I feel my pulse increasing. Just from the anger, the sheer anger of what's going on. I'm here in Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
I'm here in Georgia.
So you're right. So you're right there on at ground zero.
Ground zero. That's what I told everybody that knows me and follows me on Instagram too. This is ground zero. And it's time for everybody, not only people in Georgia, but everybody that's outside of Georgia too, to show up for Georgia because we showed up for the nation. We delivered Georgia. We
showed up for the nation. So it's time for the nation too to stand up to Georgia and also show up for us as we fight this voter suppression and oppression that's going on, because they are absolutely trying to take away and diminish the voting effect and the voting power of certain segment. And we know what that segment is. It's black, you know. It's really disgusting. And I had a list also of companies that I got that actually corporately sponsored this stuff. They actually donate so much money to the Republicans here in Georgia. And I'm not sure if you've seen that list of companies.
Yeah, I did. I sure did. The companies that sponsor those who support those who sponsored the legislation. Matter of fact, I listed that. On my social media.
Okay. So I did too, Bishop, and I actually contacted one of the companies that I used this morning, trying to obtain a corporate address and corporate, which is Verizon. I'm just gonna put them out there as Verizon. I contacted them this morning. I contacted them last week as well, to express, my disdain, my distaste, my anger at them for this, and to let them know that I'm going to be shutting my services down with them as well.
Okay.
Because of that. And this is what I want to encourage everybody else to do. We can't just talk. We have to mobilize, and we have to show them that we need this. In this country, economics, finance is what they understand.
Mm-hmm.
So, the most effective way that I would tell people to affect change, and it can't just be Georgia. Everybody can't just be focused on Georgia. I'm focused on Georgia because I live here. And so everybody needs to focus on their respective states, because, like you said, this has happened in
43 states, 250 different bills.
Right. So we have to focus on all of these places. We can't just focus on this one and shine the spotlight on this one and not shine on this. We need to shine the spotlight on.
And without the enforcement arm of the Voting Rights Act, these states can pass this legislation and take us back to the dark ages in terms of voting rights.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. And that's why we need to also put pressure on the Democrats.
Yes.
To do what they need to do, because nobody's talking about that except for you. You and me and a couple other people that I've seen on social media are the only ones saying, "Hey, what are the Democrats doing about this?"
Right, Richard. You are in power in the House and the Senate, and you need to restore the Voting Rights Act. And I don't know what the hamburger is taking them so long. That should have been one of the first pieces of legislation that they passed.
I don't either. This is my problem with Democrats. Democrats are so timid when it comes to getting an agenda accomplished. The Republicans will push through. They will manhandle and force through their laws down the American public throat without caring about how you feel about them passing their legislation. And the Democrats act like timid little kids when it comes to this.
Absolutely.
Oh, we don't want to be seen as this. We don't want to be seen as that. Sometimes, and this was my frustration too when Obama was in office too, because I felt like he was very timid when it came to certain things.
Yeah.
And there was a certain dichotomy that we hadn't seen there. Of course, he was, the first black president. So I get all of that. But it comes to a point in time when if you know that somebody tells you that I'm going to be your opposition regardless of what you do, then you need to get your mindset. Listen.
If Republicans had the House, the Senate, and the presidency right now, do you think they would be shy about anything that was on their agenda that they were trying to pass?
Look how they forced through the nominations, the president nominees. Look how they forced them. They didn't care. They didn't care about any procedure or policy. We'll just change the procedure or policy.
Absolutely.
That's like they're doing now in these different states. So listen, everybody, we got to mobilize. Everybody has to mobilize. I mean, especially all the black people that are quick to say what they wouldn't have allowed if they had lived back in certain
Mm-hmm.
Show us what you wouldn't allow. This is your moment. Show us that you won't take it. Show us that they couldn't do you like they did your ancestors. For those of you out there listening that have said things like that, show us. Don't just talk, show it.
Absolutely. Appreciate your call, bro.
Thank you, Bishop.
All right. 413-337-1867. Let me make this important announcement while we're still on the air on WTCC. I thought First Lady was going to be with me before we got off of TCC, but maybe she ain't woke up yet. I'm in the man cave. She's upstairs. But listen, the Lift Every Voice lecture series. This is our 11th annual edition. And this year, instead of it being held every week in February, like we normally do during Black History Month because of the pandemic, we're going to have one lecture in March, one in April, and one in May. The one in March is tomorrow. It's tomorrow. And though we'll be streaming live on our church's Spring of Hope Church of God in Christ Facebook and YouTube pages, you can also participate in the Zoom webinar, but you have to register. Somebody put it in the chat section. And you can go to our Facebook page and you'll find the place where you go register, but it's focusspringfield.com/lift-every-voice. focusspringfield.com/lift-every-voice. Go there, register. You'll get the Zoom link. Our keynote speaker is Dr. Keisha Blaine, an award-winning historian, a prolific author, professor. You don't want to miss it because we're still in Women's History Month, and she's going to be talking about the profound impact of Black women. I've got an all-women lineup for tomorrow night, right? I got a woman that's hosting, Waleska Lugo de Jesus. I got a woman giving a spoken word piece, Sister Shanna Joseph, powerful piece called God is a Black Woman. Okay. I've got a woman giving us our musical selection, the incomparable Miss Vanessa Ford. I've got women dancing from Youthful Expressions. I've got a surprise celebrity greeting from an iconic Black woman. And then, of course, Dr. Keisha Blaine, our keynote speaker, tomorrow at 7 p.m. Listen, go to our Facebook page, Spring of Hope, Church of God in Christ. Get the information. Go to focusspringfield.com. Did somebody put that in the chat yet? focusspringfield.com/lift-every-voice. You want to go there. You want to register right now. Then coming up on April 27th, it is the one, the only, the Reverend Dr. Frederick Haynes III. You don't want to miss that. You really don't want to miss Dr. Haynes next month. For real, for real. And then on May 26th, the Reverend Dr. W. Franklin Richardson. I've got some dynamic speakers over the next 3 months. It's all happening. Then, as well as that, in April 13th to the 15th, my pastoral anniversary celebration. I got 3 of my friends that are coming by to preach for me. The Reverend J.P. Morgan, the Reverend Mark Bayman, and the Reverend Anthony Roberson, 13th through the 15th. And then in May, I'm sorry, that's the 21st to the 23rd, April 21 to 23. Then May 13th to 15th is the annual workers conference of the Nova Scotia jurisdiction of the Church of God in Christ. So a lot of stuff happening. Check out our social media for everything that's happening. I'm going to move out your way on WTCC. I'm going to stay on with my streaming audience. Don't touch that dial. Don't go nowhere. We'll be right back. And those of you who are listening on WTCC, until the next time I talk to you and you talk to me, always remember, God loves you, and so do I. All right. We're back into the overdrive. In overdrive. All right. Tell somebody we're back live. Let me open up the lines again. Some of y'all was trying to get in while we were in our little transition. Come back at me. Come back at me. I open up the phone lines. Get y'all in. Get y'all. There you go. There you go. Y'all want to talk? Let's talk. Good morning, caller. You're on there.
Show Talbert, I can't miss you. I'm trying to watch you. I'm listening to you. Then George Floyd argument today they have, and so I'm trying to listen to CNN. Watching CNN, listen to you at the same time. So they're having it 10:30. They're having an open statement argument for George Floyd.
Right. His trial is starting today. Yes.
Yeah, today. Yeah. You didn't mention that, huh?
Say again.
Huh?
What'd you say?
You didn't mention that on the radio today. His trial starts today.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
Yeah, it's so sad. You know, they knelt for 8 minutes and 46 seconds. I knelt right along with him.
That's a long time.
It's just so sad. That man, he was asphyxiated. He was strangled. You know, it was horrible to watch, man.
And you still got these.
I just started crying all over. It's just I can't watch it. It's too painful.
You still have these people that are out here saying he died of fentanyl or some other drug.
Yeah, that's what they were saying. That's what these lawyers were saying. Yeah, the lawyers were saying that. So, you know, Al Sharpton, they all, you know, they made an opening statement. They were saying, you know, fentanyl. No, he died from asphyxiation.
Yeah, he was murdered. Point blank.
Right,
period.
Right. You cold blood murder, first degree murder.
That's all that was. There's no other way to fix it up. You know, I don't care what you have to say. You know, that was murder. Period.
It was. That's so hard to watch, man. You know, so it's just amazing that nobody intervened. All those people standing around, nobody intervened on that day, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. You know, I'm grateful for those who were bold enough to stand there and still videotape, even though they knew that they could be harassed by the police. They brought it to the light of the world. And I'm so grateful that they did that.
You think his family gonna get a conviction or what? What are your take on that?
You know, I don't know if they'll get a conviction, but here's the thing. To me, even if they get a conviction, it's not enough. And the reason I say that is because what he's been charged with, the maximum he will get is 15 years. And I don't 15 years is enough time for what he did, for the sheer brutality in which he murdered that man. He ought to go to prison for life.
That's what I say too, but who knows? I just hope he gets something, Talbert.
Yeah.
It be so unfair. This man just walked free.
Absolutely.
I hope he even get 10 or 20 years. He gets something.
Yeah.
He gets something.
I'm tired of seeing, case in point, Officer Jason Van Dyke, who was convicted in the murder of Laquan McDonald after loading 16 bullets into his back, got 6 lousy years. He's 3 years
for killing dogs.
Yeah, he's out of jail right now. Jason Van Dyke is out of jail right now. Amber Geiger got sentenced to 10 years for killing Botham Jean. 10 years.
Wow.
There's a black man who killed a police dog and got 34 years.
Oh my goodness.
There's something wrong when a man who kills a dog gets 3 times the sentence that white cops get for murdering black people.
What happened with the other one that killed Michael Brown? Remember they paid him $1 million?
Yeah, he didn't get charged.
Yeah, nothing.
Yeah.
And Michael Brown laid in the street dead. This white America, they are so. Just last week, when you said they're rapists, they're murderers. When God made the white man, he made the devil. Farrakhan never lied when he said they are the devil. They are. I'm telling you. And these voting laws they put in place, that's really scary, Talbert.
Yeah, well, that's Jim Crow.
That is scary.
It's Jim Crow all over again.
Yeah. We can't afford to go back, Talbert. We just can't. It's just too painful. Well,
if we don't do something, that's where we're headed, for sure.
Why we gotta keep this fighting, man? And then we fight, we still don't get justice.
Yeah. All right. Well, I appreciate your call.
All right. I appreciate talking to you. I love talking to you.
All right.
I'm a baby too. You know that, right?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
You're going to have your church open in May or what? Your birthday coming up soon. You'll be saying that.
My birthday is.
We'll be talking to you.
Oh, I'm good with it. My birthday is April 24th. I got 3 of my favorite preachers coming on April 21st to the 23rd to celebrate my pastoral anniversary.
It's going to be at the church or on Zoom?
It's going to be at the church and it will be streamed.
Okay. I'll come check it out.
All right.
All right. You have a blessed day.
You too. Take care. 413-337-1867. First Lady stood me up this morning. How you gonna stand me up and you in the same house as me? How does that happen, y'all? How do you stand me up? I'm gonna call her right now. Put her on blast. I'm gonna call her and put her on blast. Cause she just stood me up, y'all. Now she's not answering her phone. I'm gonna have to go upstairs. Maybe I'll call her over there. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Morning, Bishop. How How you doing?
I'm good. You?
Yes, I'm watching that they're talking about with George Floyd, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what really bothers me, right? A lot of times they got the video that shows the proof of everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then you have the jury, which majority is all white, and they always take the part of the police. So sometimes what they really saying, the video don't really matter because you know what? A lot of times you got majority the white jury and just don't believe it. And sometimes you know what? The cop will end up getting acquitted when you got the video right in front of you.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. I mean, we've got so many videos. Think about it just for a minute. Eric Garner was murdered on video.
That's right.
Nobody got charged in his murder.
Nobody.
Tamir Rice was murdered on video. Nobody got charged. And we can go over and over and over again and say, look, we got video evidence of cops murdering unarmed black people and not being charged with it. It happens all the time. Happens all the time.
But you know what, you? If you let it turn to the other side, let it be a black cop that do it to a white person.
You got the example of the black cop in Minneapolis who shot the white woman who startled him. I mean, they sent that brother to jail quick fast. Okay? In a hurry. Let me see. Let's see. I'm going to call her and see if we can get her on the air. What y'all think? Maybe, maybe not. I think she just got up late. And I couldn't just like leave the radio and run upstairs and like wake her up. Oh well, sorry y'all. Now y'all go, all of y'all First Lady fans, y'all go back and you tell her I tried to get her on the air and she stood me up. Stood me up. 30 years. Stood me up. Can y'all believe that? 413-337-1867. Listen, these attacks are targeting Americans on the base of their likelihood to not vote for conservatives. That's the reality. That's the reality. Good morning, caller.
Good morning. I just wanted to say in regards to the police brutality that we're suffering, I think that we were able to somehow get mandatory drug testing and mental health evaluations, that we will be able to expose a lot more deeper seated issues with the police. I'm a clinical therapist and I counsel the family members of many cops. And cops are raping their children, raping their wives, beating their children. They're just as abusive in their homes as they are on the street. And the same is true as far as the drug use being on a part of the IDP teams, meaning with other doctors, nurses, what have you. Many of them are getting high. Many of them are stealing medications from patients. All kinds of stuff is going on. So I think if we can start exposing some of that stuff, that we might be able to do some good.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Bye-bye.
All right. I mean, every cop ought to go through a rigorous psychological evaluation. They are literally in a position where the lives of people are in their hands based on the decisions that they make and how they come to those decisions. And unfortunately, the caller is right. Not enough is done in that area to ensure our safety by analyzing the psyche of the people that are holding badges and guns. Good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Bishop. How are you, sir?
I'm good. You?
Well. Yeah, I just wanted to call in briefly and explain to the community a little bit about what happened with the mayor. And first of all, the whole thing, they set up a meeting with the community residents because some residents heard some gunshots over in that area. Mm-hmm. And so they called the mayor and Jesse Letterman and Marlo Brown decided to get involved. And they held this community meeting for gun violence. But they didn't invite anybody from the community. There was only the white constituents of the McKnight area that they were coming to see. The vice president of the city council, Tracy Whitfield, and all of us who have been working on gun violence wasn't invited.
Listen.
No, the NAACP wasn't invited. Nobody from our community. And the night before on Quincy Street, somebody was murdered. 3 days prior to that on College and Shattuck Street, somebody was murdered. The mayor, Marlo Brown, Jesse Letterman, and none of them, Bishop, have ever come into the black community asking mothers and fathers and community people how they felt about what was going on and what they were going to do to come and help. The mayor, from 2006 to now, sir, there are a half a dozen to a dozen unsolved homicides of young black and Latino people in our community, in our city. And the first time the mayor wants to come out, he wants to come out at that event. And the first thing he says out of his mouth, and this is what angered me, sir. Juanita Batchelor of Moore, who lost her son, they had marched to his office. The first thing he said out of his mouth was, we should be marching on the judges and on the courts instead of marching to my office, and that parents need to get involved. And that's what incensed me, and we're going to lock him up. And that's when I said to him, you're wrong, Mayor. You are absolutely wrong. You're always coming with these same steps to talk about locking up black and Latino people instead of talking about the school to prison pipeline, mental health issues, lack of education, lack of employment, and all of these systemic racist things that impact our youth the way they do. And I said to them, nobody in our community condones violence. And we're working hard in our community.
But see, here's what happens. Here's what happens. This is the modus operandi of this administration, is to protect the interests of and to assuage the fears of white constituents, and to hell with the black residents that live in the area. The mayor and I got into a back and forth some years ago. There was a shooting literally next door to my church on Alden Street. Next door. Now, those who know anything about that section of Alden Street, they know that once you pass Roosevelt and come down, the only two businesses on Alden Street, the main two businesses are my church and Springfield College. Yes, until you get to Six Corners and you got the gas station. And so right next door to my church, there was a shooting. The mayor and then at the time, Commissioner Barbieri, they went to Springfield College to meet with the constituents at Springfield College to tell them what their plan was to combat gun violence in the area and to assure them that things would be safe, yada, yada, yada. I sent a request and said, wait a minute, how dare you go to Springfield College And I have no problem with Springfield College. Springfield College has been a partner of ours in terms of various things that we have done, but we understand why they went to Springfield College, because it's a predominantly white institution, and they want to make sure that parents and administrators and professors feel safe when they come up into the hood. I said, how dare you go to Springfield College and talk to them, but you don't talk to the residents? So I invited them to have the same forum at my church with community residents that y'all just had at Springfield College, and he refused to do so. So basically the message was, the hell with you, your church members, and the residents of the Alden Street corridor. We're not interested in y'all. We just wanted to assuage the fears of those at Springfield College. And that has been something this administration has consistently done.
Bishop, I need to point this out too. I do. I'm appalled, and the rest of us are too, who was there at Marlon Brown, and what he said, it was a political ambush, right? No, I'm not running for office. I don't run a nonprofit. I don't own nothing. Nobody owns me. I'm a free black man. And for him to say that, when you had mothers in that audience who's lost their children to gun violence, and he not call anyone, and then he gets on camera and say that the mayor and the commissioner come out to answer questions, and for us to politically ambush him. We wouldn't have known there was a meeting. City Councilwoman Tracy Whitfield sent out on her Facebook post, and she tagged our names because we are doing the Gun Violence Elimination Alliance. Mm-hmm. And so she tagged us, and then we got there. He never informed her, Marcus Williams. He didn't show up until afterwards and did a little press conference. Bishop, I just need to say this. We have elected black officials that are the pillars that are holding up systemic racism and white supremacy in our community. Marlo Brown, he must resign from that seat. For him to behave the way he behaved at that meeting, and then stood over there, because if you see the camera span out, the mayor did the Channel 22 said the mayor did finally meet with the constituents, and if you pan the camera over, it was nothing but police officers and that white community from the McKnight area. On the side where we were at, it was only the black community people, and Marlon Brown was over there with them, and it was people in the community who were appalled and aghast at his behavior, that he never once reaches out. He is an unqualified candidate, and he's a disrespect to the community. I'm going to point this out. When we're on the neighborhood housing service, has been doing something now with Gordon Folkman, who is doing the Knox buildings. When he came in to Ward 4, he never checked with the Old Hill Council and Barbara Gresham. He never checked in with the Upper Hill Council with Ms. Adrian Osborne. He never checked in with the neighborhood housing services. Gordon Faulkner act like somebody told him, you don't have to go through that protocol because we got your back. On a Zoom meeting, as we're asking for requests from Gordon Faulkner, Marlo Brown says, whatever you guys ask for, I'm going to give it to you. There was a mother on the Zoom call who's very prominent in our community. She told Marlo on the Zoom call, don't you ever again say what somebody's going to give to the community, because if they don't do it, you're going to be held responsible. And when we look at Gordon Faulkner, Bishop, him and his wife both did campaign donations to Bud Williams. We all know that Bud Williams is Marlo Brown, is his protege, and we understand the significance of what is going on. And we have people that are black on the city council and in positions of authority, Bishop, who is, I'm not going to say selling us out, but they're inadequate in their duties of officials in our community, and especially for Black people. There were mothers there yesterday, Bishop, who was crying because this mayor and no one, you have murder cases that's been unsolved, a half dozen to a dozen. And I'm going to throw this up. He's always throwing Cephas Jackson names out in the open, right? We got Steve Jackson, he does, the mayor does. But never once, and has the mayor given Cephas Jackson any information to Michelle Thomas, little Cephas' mother, about who murdered her child and Cephas' grandchild. This mayor is exploiting and disrespecting our community, disrespecting good Black people who want to do the work. Like he said, I have Johnny Muhammad here with me, and I said, stop using good Black people who want to do the work as your mannequins to say what you want them to say. And Black people have to stop parading up with the mayor, letting him use you against the community. And I know you know all this, Bishop, but there's the context in which why I went on.
That once again, that has been the modus operandi of this administration. It's always been, well, look, I got Denise Jordan. She's my chief of staff. Look, I got Daryl Moss. He's my aide. Or look, I got this one. I got that one. The Black tokenism, the utilization of Black tokenism has been a mainstay with this administration. To call out the names of a Cephas Jackson or various Black folks that surround him, who really have no real authority in the administration. When you really get down to it, you got Helen Carlton Harris, who's over Health and Human Services. Outside of that, very few Black people supervise any staff, have charge over any budgets, or have any real authority in this administration. That's the reality of where we are. And my biggest problem is, how dare you come into the Black community and start railing on judges letting people out, and pretending that is the major problem, when you haven't even dealt with the problem of the rogue police officers and that unfit, unqualified commissioner that you still have on the force, and you've been playing smoke and mirrors, pretending you're instituting police reforms that you're not instituting, in what has been labeled as one of the worst police departments in the country.
Yes, sir. And I also made this statement, and I've been clear on this, Bishop. Bud Williams, everybody, they want to now sit down and meet. And I said to them, we cannot meet unless Bishop Swan is at this table. If Bishop Swan, you're my brother, man, and you've been out here and you've been in the league. If you cannot, damn it, tell me who I can associate with, and if we're gonna have any meeting in this community, and Bishop Swan isn't a part of the conversation, then we as Black people should not go meet with anybody unless we have all of the people who have been out here in this fight. I'm not gonna be divided like that.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you, brother, because see what happens is the mayor will determine who he wants at the table. And so basically what he's saying to Black people is, these are the acceptable Black people that we will deal with. And so others we may not want to deal with. And I get it. I know I've been calling for Commissioner Clapperood's removal from office. I've been challenging them on the games that they're playing around police reform. And so I'm not their favorite person right now. They don't really want to talk to me right now. And I'm good with that, because I've survived many administrations. and at the end of the day, administrations come and go, but I'm going to be here advocating for my people.
And I'm even suggesting, even amongst us as people who are concerned, if someone comes to us and say, well, we'll have a conversation about anything that involves Black life in this community. And we go to this meeting or meetings, and we don't call our brothers and sisters who have been out here on the fight. It makes us look weak. It makes us look divided. And we at this moment, at this juncture in time, Bishop Swan, I mean, and I don't have time to rock white fragility to sleep. I don't have time to apologize for who I am, but I know this for a fact, brother. You are a part of this is what the big thing is. People don't want you to be a part of something. And I'm saying, man, the Negroes is crazy, man. Bishop Swan is down. And that brother is a part of his team. If we're going to be discussing anything amongst ourselves, then we should call Bishop Swan. This is where I'm at, because together we're going to be successful.
Yeah.
Only together we're going to be successful. And the Negroes who want to sit with the mayor, you Negroes who want to deal with the mayor, you people who want to sell out the community to be with the mayor, you're on the wrong side of the fight this time. And we cannot counter Black betrayal and not deal with Black betrayal because they're part of our fraternity, they're part of our sorority, or that we did something for them in the future. We've had 7 shootings, 4 deaths within a week. I just left the lady's house whose nephew was just murdered the other night. And we have too much going on in our city to allow the mayor, Marlon Brown, Jesse Letterman is just as culpable for the state moves that they have made on this community. We have to begin to clear this mess up the best way we can, Bishop. I know I took up a lot of your time. I just want you to know, whatever you decide with the NAACP that you want to do, brother, let us know, and we're going to form out together with you. And we have to, we have to get together, Bishop, and do this work like immediately. So I thank you for this time. Just want to put in context what happened and why you're going to come in our community. And the first thing you're going to say is about how you're locking people up on the motorcycles, but you can't talk about locking people up because whether they're Black or whose children they are, if you're killing somebody, there's a punishment for that. You got to go to jail.
Right.
We want justice. We don't want people in our community shooting up just because they're Black. You need to go to jail if that's what the law finds out. So we want justice for these deaths. If it was Mandy Clapton or Samantha Sarno who was shot and killed,
oh, it'd be a different story. Oh, of course, absolutely.
So, I thank you, Bishop, for this time, brother. May God bless you and your family. Keep yourself safe, and I love you, sir.
All right, brother. Appreciate you. Take care. All right, I'm gonna move out the way once again. Listen, Lift Every Voice lecture series starts tomorrow. All women participants, Women's History Month. You definitely want to be a part of it. Once again, I put the registration link in the chat, in the comment section. Go there, focusspringfield.com/lift-every-voice. Go there and register so you can get on the Zoom link and participate in the webinar. It's going to be off the chain, y'all. I promise you. It's going to be crunk. It's going to be fire. Y'all need to be a part of that. So that's what it is. All right. I got to go. First Lady stood me up. Y'all get on her about that, okay? Y'all, some of y'all sisters who got her number, y'all call her and tell her, why'd you stand the bishop up today and all that stuff. All right. I'll see you tomorrow. At the Lift Every Voice lecture series. Until the next time I talk to you and you talk to me, always remember, God loves you, and so do I.